See Charlotte Weather Impact Team. We have both Becca Birdsall and Chris Mulcahy with us today, and we want to start with Chris.
Hold on, I just realized that my microphone was off, so live streaming for you. All right, take two, here we go. Snow and sleet totals. Boone had about 4 inches, and then Valdez about 1.2, and meanwhile over in Maiden about a ½ inch. Charlotte officially broke that snowless streak that was 1,077 days. The last time that we had a measurable snowfall was 0.2 inches. That was back on January 29th. 2022. So yeah, it's been a while. Now, these aren't as high as maybe what some people were anticipating. Now, Lancaster, you were for sure in the trace to up to 1 inch of snow, but that 1 to 2 didn't quite verify for a lot of us. And the main reason why is because of freezing rain, because Crowders saw over 1/10 of an inch. Charlotte Douglas International Airport actually measured 1/10 of an inch of rain. That's where things usually start becoming problematic. So especially the bridges and overpasses are going to be an issue so far this morning. Monroe's Airport just shy of 0.1, and then Concord about 0.06 of an inch. So here's what we saw in our past cast. It was a little bit trying to overcome that drier air. So it was snowing above our heads, but it really wasn't until the early to mid-afternoon that we started to see that snow accumulate. It was around that 4 to 5 o'clock area that the snow was at its heaviest. But already by 6, we started to work in more sleet. We started to work in more mixing, even some freezing rain. This area of purple is representing that sleet and freezing rain mix, but eventually this lighter pink took over, meaning all freezing rain. So it was especially treacherous actually down in South Carolina. I saw some reports up to 1/4 inch. That's what usually weighs down more branches and can bring out a lot more power, even though we do have several power outages here around the Charlotte area. But was this a busted forecast? Well, we kind of gave 2 scenarios throughout the week. Now, number 1 was you have the snow changing over to freezing rain. What really happened was the freezing rain won out, and we had freezing rain before we actually saw the full potential of that snowfall, and it was all because of a warmer air above our heads. So we had 0.4 snow here in Charlotte and 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. If you were to translate this over to the profile that we had, since it's a little bit drier, if that was just snow, we easily would have seen about 2 inches, but instead it was more of an ice instead of an actual snow. So I know I would rather have snow than ice, but c'est la vie. We have the warm noses we have mentioned physically above our heads by about anywhere from 2 to 10,000 feet. You have temperatures that get above freezing. So what either happens in a sleet scenario is we have a snowflake that actually partially melts, it refreezes, it hits the surface, and then it's an ice pellet. Whenever you get a full melting of that snowflake, it's still cold. Those are a super cool droplet. So as soon as it makes contact with a freezing surface, especially your car, which is much colder than, say, the pavement, that's where you start to have that ice accumulation, and that was the case in scenario that we saw yesterday. I'm happy to say that the storm is past and gone, but that's the main reason why we saw more freezing rain than sleet. So, Becca, all is well right now. Well, most areas. How's it looking, say, areas around Concord and surrounding areas?
Yeah, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, as we take a live look outside, courtesy of Mr. Sparky, racing not advised unless you like those slip and slide conditions. And you actually can see some of the snow and ice that is stuck to some of the grassy surfaces out there. And it's cold across the area. Definitely, if you're venturing out, want to exercise some caution as we've got some icy roads out there and dealing with poor visibility. This is a live look outside from uptown Charlotte. Visibility is less than 2 miles here, so also keep that in mind. Now, the winter storm that came has already passed. That's a low pressure system that's pushing off the Carolina coast. Not much of a winter storm anyways at this hour. Currently just producing some showers over towards Charleston and that northern Georgia coast. On the back end of the system, do have a few flurries up in the mountains, and there is an active winter storm warning for Avery County that goes until about noon today for the potential to see an additional 1 to maybe 2 inches of snowfall. But it is cold outside. Temperatures at 32 degrees in Charlotte, 29 Lincoln, 30 Shelby, and 24 out the door over in Morganton. But there is a wind chill factor out there, especially in the high country. Feels like 8 in Boone, feels like 13 in Jefferson, 25 in Charlotte, and 24 over in Monroe. With reduced visibilities, less than a mile here in Charlotte. Around that over in Statesville, 2.5 in Hickory, and currently down to 1.5 over in Boone and in Shelby. So dealing with 3 big things this morning: freezing temperatures, snow and icy roads, and poor visibility. This will all change though in the next couple of hours. We'll see decreasing clouds and temperatures will finally start to rise above that freezing mark close to around 10 o'clock. We'll see lots of sunshine for the afternoon with high temperatures about 10 degrees warmer than what they were for yesterday. Yesterday's high only made it to 34 degrees. Today's highs highs will be close to the lower to middle 40s across the area. As we take a live look outside over in Blowing Rock, you can see just a few spitting flurries out there. That snow has certainly stuck to the road, so that's what we're talking about with those slick conditions out there. And it's going to be a cold one up in the mountains, with temperatures likely hovering in the upper teens to lower 20s for the afternoon. So if you do have any plans to take advantage of this fresh powder, here is the ski report as of today. Beach Mountain Resort has a base snow amount of over 6 feet. App Ski Mountain now has a base of about 96 out of the 6 ski lifts open, and Cataloochee now up to around 69 inches. So great skiing weather. Again, just certainly going to be cold and windy for this afternoon. Saturday is again going to be warming up with lots of sunshine, but for tomorrow morning, starting off in the lower 20s, highs bumping up once again into the lower 40s. On our surface map, again, cold front has well pushed off. High pressure system will take over behind it. Next cold front is going to produce some rain showers down to the south of and west of us. This is going to be staying south. It's going to be bringing us a few more clouds for your Monday, but overall, we're going to trend dry. 3-day forecast showing again more clouds for Monday. Because of that, temperatures will be a little bit warmer, still below average, upper 40s, close to 50 degrees, especially in some of our southern counties. But once that cold front starts to move through, we'll see those clouds clear out, temperatures cooling down into the 40s. Wednesday morning starting off in the teens with high temperature of only about 40 degrees. And we'll continue to stay cold as we approach this next work week ahead. This is the dead of winter for this Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. High temperatures in the 40s, morning temperatures in the 20s. Good news is lots of sunshine to go around. Back to you, Caitlin.
All right, Becca, thanks. Let's take a live look now at App State. You can see the campus is covered in snow. That area of the camera that looks a little distorted, that's likely some ice there on the camera. Something that I saw when I was coming into work today. My car was frozen shut, had to give it a couple pushes to try to get the door open there, but we made it. It might be something that you will see as you're planning your commute today. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris live in Boone for us this morning. Miles, you've been there almost 24 hours now. How have you seen things change?
Well, as you can see right now, Kaylin, the wind is certainly picking up this morning. And so really the story today is that combination of both that snow that we saw yesterday and now those winds and how strong those wind gusts really are. Now, here's the thing. It is definitely a lot colder than it was yesterday as well. And a lot of that credit, unfortunately, goes to those winds that are picking up. So I know we heard Becca talk about it. It feels like 8 degrees. I got to be honest with you. It feels a lot colder than that. Now, we know that Pierre, my photographer here, is actually going to show you more exactly what we are seeing out here near Blowing Rock Road here in Boone. And as you can see, the wind kind of whipping that snow around. Take a look at those trees as well, making their way, moving around there, too. That is something that a lot of the emergency crews and a lot of fire departments are actually keeping a close eye on here when it comes to tracking really the impact when it comes to these winter weather like temperatures and really weather as a whole. Now, downtown Boone, it actually transformed into a winter wonderland on Friday with snow blanketing everything in sight. Crews have been actually out working around the clock to make sure that everybody is staying safe, especially on those roads and even on those walkways throughout the area. Now, at Appalachian State University, snow turned the campus into more of what it looks like in a scene from a holiday card. And the snow, nothing new for Boone, but the challenge in this area still recovering following Hurricane Helene.
So we do have concerns and have had this since Helene, is the tree damage. And we had a little bit of ice a couple weeks ago in a small ice storm. And we saw trees come down in that were damaged from Hurricane Helene. So there are those concerns with trees that are damaged, and is this going to be the storm that brings down other trees? So we are prepared to assist the town crews and Department of Transportation with tree removal from roadway.
Guys, again, I think that when it comes to this brutal combination of both snow and wind, it really begs the question of what kind of impact we could see in areas like Boone with this winter weather. Now, we knew that crews were actually out working on those roads. We had either seen plow trucks blowing snow off the roads or salting those roads. We even saw some smaller tractors on the sidewalks in downtown Boone, just trying to keep that area safe, making sure that those roadways, those walkways are as smooth as they possibly can be. That'll be the case again, today we'll see those crews out there working around the clock, trying to keep this area as safe as it possibly can be, keeping the community as warm as it can be, and we'll keep track of that for you guys as well. But here in Boone, I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
Yeah, important to give those crews plenty of space to do their work as they're working throughout the day. Thanks so much, Miles. And as Miles was mentioning, all the snow coming just a few months after Helene. During a press conference yesterday, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein took a moment to talk about the FEMA changes for those impacted.
The 24-hour extension was a result of our request, the state of North Carolina's request to FEMA to extend it. We've subsequently added that we asked for them to add a couple more days to that through Monday. What we don't want is for even people whose homes are now safe and ready for them to be reoccupied, which is what happens at the end of the temporary shelter period, we don't want folks on the road. And so the best thing for everyone is for FEMA to continue to extend for a couple more days this temporary shelter assistance so that people can stay where they are and not be on the roads. We want people to be warm and safe through this winter. It's why we have created our state temporary travel program that we launched on Thursday, a week and a half ago. The first trailers are now on the ground in Western North Carolina. People need to be safe and warm on their own properties. We are committed to doing everything we can here for North Carolina to urge our FEMA and federal partners to do right by the people of Western North Carolina.
Well, we're also following some breaking news right now. There's a water main break at East John Street and Trade Street in Matthews. This is we're already starting to see some ice on the roads. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane live there now. What can you tell us?
Yeah, good afternoon to, or good morning, Kaylin. Good Saturday morning, everyone. Let me step out of the way and Carrie can actually zoom in a little bit. You can see where that water is popping up right in the ground here. It is creating quite a little waterfall down East John Street. As you can see, it flows all the way down the street. And that's going to cause some trouble because it's cold and eventually some of that water will freeze. So it's important for folks to give them some space. If you don't have to be out, don't come out. But let me tell you the situation here right now. You can see there are work crews here. Charlotte water work crews are here. What they're doing now is assessing the damage, trying to find out where there are cables underground, for instance, to see if there's any where the electric cables are, where there are cables, gas cables, or anything like that, any lines that might be down before they dig, because they're going to have to dig to then replace that pipe and actually assess the damage and find out how big a water main break this is. Now, this is something that happens. The cities have these lines underground. These lines get old, and over a period of time, they can crack and break just from natural wear and tear. There's no way to really know where they're going to break or when they're going to break. One thing I can tell you is that the older and then with the colder temperatures, they expand, and then you have those ruptures and those breaks like that. So they say that they don't have an estimated time right now. They're just getting to the point of getting it here. Of course, once they start the repair process, that could cause some power outages, or excuse me, some outages as far as folks who have water in this area. You know, this particular part of Matthews is where there are a lot of restaurants and things like that. Some of them may not be open that early because of the weather. Some of them may not be open that early because it's Saturday. Nonetheless, this is going to cause some headaches for some folks, but the good thing is that a lot of people are off the road today. But as you can see that water just flowing down there, just imagine when if it starts to get colder later in the day, and this isn't done, it should be done by later in the day, but that would cause quite a problem. You don't need to be driving down as fast as that car if you're on the roads today. Take your time because there's still some slick spots. Overall, I can tell you the roads in most areas look drivable. If you take your time, you should have no problem, but it's best just to wait a little bit longer, let it get a lot warmer, and things should get okay. But in this particular area, these guys are working, so if you make your way in this part of Matthews, please give them lots of space, slow down, take your time so they can get their work finished and get everything back to normal. That's where we are right here in Matthews. This is Richard Devane. Caitlin, we'll send it back to you.
Good advice there. Thanks, Richard. I want to turn things over to Chris now. We've been talking about the traffic impacts. We know just yesterday there were quite a few crashes. What are you seeing on the maps today?
Well, I'm happy to say that a lot of people are staying off the road, so that definitely helps. Lower volume of traffic, the lower risk that we're going to have a lot of incidents. So here's exactly what Richard was talking about. To repeat what he said, you saw the one lane that was blocked. That is South Trade Street at John Street. However, since that water is literally flowing down the road, it is going to have some extra impacts. Now, I think it's mainly as that water goes into certain parking lots, as those temperatures are still hovering around that freezing point. The good news is this time of day, temperatures are now starting to get above that freezing point, so that's going to help us out. Sending the lingering water, I think, really overnight tonight. Plus, a lot of those roads, especially in downtown areas, were treated with that brine, which brings the freezing temperature down, so that's also going to be helpful. Meanwhile, I think one of the hottest spots that we had, at least on some of our back roads or not interstates, was Beatty's Ford Road yesterday, where 3 incidents were reported within an hour. Now part of the road is blocked, and I think it is just because of some of those icy conditions. It's right here, Beatty's Ford both ways at Wedgwood Road. So where this is a little bit further north of town, so this would be north of Mount Holly Huntersville Road, a little bit closer to Latta Place. So just giving you a little bit of advice there. But then also across the area, we are seeing some slow, slick spots, but the biggest issue is still going to be some of those bridges and overpasses, especially the ones that were in the shade. This is a picture that I took earlier this morning. Notice all that ice that was on this bridge, but then if you look right over here where my hand is, that's where you get off the bridge and you can see that the roads are just fine. So bridges and overpasses are always the worst case scenario for this current setup, but then also overnight tonight, as a lot of that ice melts away, well, the water is still going to remain, so we could have a refreeze and a black ice risk heading into tomorrow. Be advised, but in the meantime, be safe and enjoy your Saturday.
Well, these conditions do call for a different kind of driving than what you would do in normal weather, and that's why officials are actually encouraging everyone to stay off the road until after the ice has melted. If you need to go out, here's some advice to do so safely. They say it's important to reduce your speed, increase your following distance, and avoid abrupt acceleration and maneuvers, as well as applying those brakes gently. And if your car starts to skid, South Carolina Highway Patrol says it's best to take your foot off the gas and steer in the direction you want the front of your car to go. Now, if you have standard brakes, they say it's okay to gently pump them, but if you have anti-lock brakes, don't pump them. Instead, they say you should apply steady pressure to the brakes. If you feel them start to pulse, it is a normal occurrence. Well, we're going to have more here. Let's turn now to some of those outages that we have been seeing. Even as we are talking now, some folks chiming in on Facebook saying that they are without power and watching our broadcast on their cell phones. We've seen thousands of outages. Right now, Duke Energy showing 2,000 customers without power across the city. Crews say that they are working as fast as they can to get power back on for everyone. And the conditions are already having a major impact on flights at Charlotte Douglas. We just checked moments ago, and right now there are more than 200 flights already canceled, another 75 delayed. Today is shaping up to be another messy travel day. We saw hundreds of cancellations yesterday. We're hoping as those temperatures continue to go up and the ice melts that flights will get back to more of a sense of normalcy there. And the winter weather may have the kids wanting to go outside and play, but there are a few things to keep aware of.
Anytime that you are going to be going outside, whether it's for enjoyment or because you're forced to, the biggest and most important thing is dress in layers and never assume that whenever you're going out that a quick trip is going to be a quick trip. So wear those coats. If you have a long coat that goes down to the knees, that's ideal to really protect your core and your core temperature. Wear those hats and scarves and gloves and thick socks. So if the kiddos are going out, bright clothing is ideal because it still does get dark early, and so they have better visualization. But people think about the temperature when it comes to frostbite, but it's actually the wind chill. So it's really important to keep a watch on how much wind we're having and experiencing in the area, because even though the temperature may be 32 degrees and you think that's not so bad, if you're having gusts of wind, I mean, the wind chill can really be 10 degrees or even below, and it doesn't take long. So whenever you're thinking about freezing temperatures, if it's just at freezing, it can take an hour, but in the right conditions, if the wind is really high and it's those really, really cold temperatures, we're talking about the teens and below, that wind chill can be less than 0 Fahrenheit, and it does not take up to 15 minutes to start getting frostbite symptoms.
Well, if you're seeing winter weather where you are, we want to see it too. You can snap a picture or take a video and send it to us using the Near Me feature on our WCNC Charlotte app. Make sure that it's safe to do so, and if it is, you can take a photo, and we don't need your exact address, but you can give us a neighborhood or general area to help us tell this story and see how other people in your community are in this storm. Well, thanks for joining us here for this stream. We're going to be live on WCNC Charlotte in just about half an hour. Our next newscast starting at 9, and we'll have more coverage from across the Carolinas on this storm and other hot topics. Have a great day.